All right, we are live. We have here Justin in this episode, Justin Ford, an associate broker with eXp Realty. Justin, you run your own team and a global organization with hundreds of agents in your team. You are also coaching in the Global U organization. Uh, I've been following you over your journey, even when you were in KW. I don't know how long it's been, like probably 6, 7 years.
Mhm.
And watched you go through the global organization, then started your own company. You helped over thousands of families, so far, and consistently
Yeah.
selling 100 homes a year, over 100 homes a year. That's amazing. And right now you're coaching with your prospecting bootcamp with the
Yeah.
global U organization.
Yeah.
And I see you have a lot of raving fans, hundreds of raving fans with the nickname of Prospecting King. You are also an author.
Yep.
Recently, I saw you. I don't have your book yet, so I gotta get your book for sure. Is it on Audible?
It will be. It will be. We're working on that right now.
I'm gonna get the Audible version. just I'll just keep one in my library anyway.
Okay.
My wife is a reader. She reads
Awesome.
fast too. Like she's a reader.
Awesome.
I'm slow reading. But anyway, you shared your journey in the book, going from a felon to a multi-million dollar producing top producer,
Yep.
real estate broker, company owner. Tell us about your story, how you got started, what you've been through in real estate, and what you're doing now with real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate you having me on. And so, I always say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And for me, my life really changed when I was 19. I got into a lot of trouble as a teenager, dropped out of high school, made a lot of poor decisions. I was arrested like 13 times in the matter of 2 years. And all my charges were drug and alcohol related. So I wasn't out like, committing all these crazy crimes. I just, I was definitely making some poor decisions. At the age of 19, I became a Christian. It changed my life. So for the last 20 years, I've been on a journey really, becoming the best version of myself and really being able to create success for me and my family. But it all started, in business back in, gosh, I think it was 2005. I was introduced to the mortgage industry. I was always an employee.
That's a long time. That's like
Yeah.
17 years.
Yep. Yep. So I've always been like in commission sales pretty much my whole adult life. So since I was 22. So for the last 17 years, I've been, an independent contractor in commission sales. Because before that, I just was never a good employee. I didn't understand why at the time, but I was fired from every single job that I ever worked as an employee. And so at the age of 22, my buddy introduced me to the mortgage business. This is what back in 2005 when things were like boom one before the crash. Yep. And after working for him part-time in the evenings, I quit my day job. I'm like, man, I'm going all in. I realized I had some sales skills. I already knew I had sales skills, but I realized I had sales skills and that the commission that I could create, really excited me. And I'm like, I'm not going to work 9 to 5 when I can create my own success. And so I did that for a couple of years and, experienced some success, being young, recently married at the time with a couple of kids. We had our first 6-figure year and we thought we had arrived and we were on the mountaintop.
This is
And
before the crash, right?
this was before the crash. Yeah.
Before the crash. Okay,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
seeing the crash would have been exciting.
Yeah. So we had, bought a new house, 2 new vehicles, we were spending a lot of money. And then all of a sudden, the bottom fell out. And, pretty much overnight, we went from 6 figures to no figures, lost our house to foreclosure, went through bankruptcy, lost our cars to repossession, and really went through a struggle, right? We had to get on food stamps and we moved in with my mom and we really, really struggled. Well, I never gave up on my vision. And after tasting what was possible with a little bit of commission sales, I'm like, I'm not going back and working a job. I'm going to figure this thing out. So I did some things during the downturn. I did short sales and loan modifications. We did some mortgage audits, some credit repair. But then in 2013, I decided to go get my real estate license. And I joined Jeff Glover's team. And I always said, in order to be the best, you got to learn from the best. And what I found was real estate is just a vehicle. I was talking to somebody about this earlier today. There's a lot of different ways to make money, right? And real estate is just one of them. And so I was introduced to, Jeff Glover, joined his team. And what was cool was I already had experience with phone sales because I was doing that in the mortgage business. I worked for a telemarketing company. I worked for a travel agency. So I did a lot of things in sales. And so when I saw what was possible with real estate, I got super excited. And so in my first year working with Jeff, I sold 100 homes my first year in the business. You have to start out doing prospecting. So everybody that comes in the door excuse me, everybody has to start making phone calls, expireds, for sale by owners. So Jeff always told me, he's like, if you can master this, then you're going to be a super awesome real estate agent. I said, okay. So I did that for 90 days because everybody has to go through that program 90 to 120 days. And so I came out of that program. I took 30 listings my first month in the business, 33 listings in the second month in the business, took 100 listings my first. Yeah. Yep. And just crushed it. And so I was with Jeff for 3 years and was his top agent while I was there for 3 years, sold, a ton of homes, but then went out and, started my own brokerage. I wanted to, create my own thing, do my own thing. Did that and, realized after doing that for a couple of years, it wasn't really what it was all cracked up to be, being your own broker, you're the manager, you're the broker, you're this, you're that, all the liability, all the responsibility, everything's on you. And I wasn't even making any money because, all the money that I was making was going back into the business. And so that was, after about 3 years, I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. So I went back into full-time sales, had my best year in 2020. Up until that point, I did 125 home sales, 31 million in volume. And at the end of last year, actually at the beginning of last year, January 2021, I decided to join EXP. And here I am today.
Wow, that's a lot. That's going to take a lot to unpack, okay? So you said you found God early in your, this was way before real estate, right? Way before you got into mortgage. How did God play a role into this journey?
For me, when I became a Christian at 19, I really started building my life with Jesus and at the center of it, right? Like my relationship with Christ became the foundation and the focus of my life. And so everything that I've done, I've done my best to pray and really seek God and be led by him, into the things, that I'm called to do. And when I met Jeff, I just knew that I was supposed to get into real estate and work with him. And, it's really become, the foundation of everything that I am and really being able to inspire other people, with my story and my journey and really, because here's what I realized, not everybody's on drugs, not everybody's an alcoholic, not everybody's struggling that way, but there's a lot of people who are struggling out there. And a lot of times they're not vocal about it because they're, embarrassed or they're ashamed or whatever, and I really just live my life, whether it be in real estate, whether it be just in general, to live a life of example of, what is possible, that God can change somebody's life. He can change somebody's situation. And it doesn't really matter how you start. What matters is how you finish. And I always live by the phrase, with God, all things are possible. And so, it doesn't really matter where somebody's at or what they're going through right now. If they're willing to just make a commitment and go through the process, they will come out on the other side.
So you're saying basically submitting to God's plan and let him inspire you. Doesn't matter through life or through business.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's done for me. I mean, when, there's a lot of people out there that have faith, right? And I think that some people just have faith on Sundays when they go to church just one day a week, right? Or on Easter or on Christmas or whatever it may be. And then some people live by faith and faith becomes the foundation of their life. And for me, that's what it's been, and I feel, that God leads me and guides me and directs my steps. And, I think, that's to live by that every single day, allows you to see things through a different lens than kind of just going through the motions, not really having or really knowing what your purpose is.
Yeah. And we all go through that. And, your journey of, getting into real estate and starting to see success that fast. Maybe I don't relate to it, but a lot of people probably don't relate to it. That those who actually do success, at a certain level, they want the upgrade, right?
Right.
Have their own thing. They want to have their own company. They want to build their own brand, and they want to leave their own legacy, right?
Right.
Where did you come up with the idea of having, or why did you come up with the idea of having your own company? And what was that about?
I mean, I just really wanted to create something that would change the real estate industry. Having faith at the forefront, really being able to, create like a program or a company that would, equip real estate agents to go out and be successful, but then also be able to focus on, faith and finances and marriage and all of those things to really, help people focus on more than just selling homes, but
Yeah.
really focus on the quality of life and being an inspiration. And when I got into it, I just realized that it was more, I don't want to say more stressful or more, it was more than what I had anticipated. And I realized that what I really wanted was not to be in that position. And I think that's what led me to EXP, because I could do the same thing, but not be responsible or have the liability behind it.
Yeah, so basically the heavy lifting of creating the brand and representing the brand worldwide and nationwide, you don't have to do that for
Yeah.
your own.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's, it's not all it's cracked up to be. I mean, it's difficult and it takes a long time, and there's no guarantees for success. I mean, there's no guarantees for anything in life besides paying taxes and dying, right? But at the end of the day, I realized, and I kind of took a step back, and I'm like, this is not really what I signed up for. So
Running your own company. So how is that working out for you going to EXP? You said you started the company because you wanted to create that influence and you wanted to impact others, teach them how you became successful and, allow them to have that equal, chance through you. Now that you shut down that company, right? Dreams are not dead, but you're still doing it. How's that working out for you in EXP with that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because when I realized they weren't working out, because there was a lot of things that just happened in a very short period of time when I had my company, and I really questioned God, because not so much questioned God, but I really felt, directed to start this company. I really saw a vision for it. I saw, what I wanted to do with it. I saw the big picture. And when it started falling apart and it really wasn't working out the way that I envisioned it to, I really questioned it. Like, did I miss this? Is this what I'm really called to do? What's really going on here?
Why is it not working out? Like you started.
Why isn't it working out?
Yeah.
And so, I was introduced to EXP actually when I was starting my own company. The guy that, sponsored me into EXP, he was going to EXP from Keller Williams when I was leaving Jeff's and going to start my own company. And at the time, I really wasn't interested in, another opportunity.
What year was this?
This was 2016.
I'm just trying to calculate your stocks. How bigger would have been?
I'd be living in Puerto Rico right now. Seriously.
God has his plan, huh? You got you stuck for some reason.
Right. Yeah. And so I'll tell you that part of the story too. But so so his name's AJ Maida, and AJ, he's like, man, you got to check out this company. It's called EXP. And I'm like, I'm not really interested. I'm starting my own company. And, I started my own company, but then I kept watching AJ, and then everybody and their mama started recruiting me to EXP, just like every agent, watching this has all been recruited to EXP. And I'm just like, don't talk to me about EXP. I'm not going to EXP. I don't want nothing to do with EXP. I'm never going to EXP. And so after, having my brokerage for a period of time, I just, again, kept watching AJ and saw all the success that he was creating. And he basically retired from selling real estate, moved to Puerto Rico, was really just crushing it. And finally reached out to him and I said, man, tell me more about this EXP, because I had never really taken a look at everything EXP had to offer. I was only assuming what I thought EXP was, but I never really took the time to look into it. And so once I really saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's everything that I was already trying to create, and it's already done. And I don't have to carry the responsibility or the liability for it. I can just plug in. I can, recruit agents, which I love to do. I can train agents, which I love to do. And I can sell a lot of homes, which is what I love to do. And at the end of the day, I can sleep easy at night because I'm not worrying about, potential lawsuits or, all this other stuff that happens when you're a broker. And it was like the perfect marriage. And I look back now and I realize, why things didn't work out for me at my brokerage was because it would have taken me so many years, right, to be able to get to a point where I could operate in all 50 states and 20 countries, whereas EXP already has it available now.
Wow. So that allows you to take your impact to that level where EXP already is.
Yep. Yeah. And not be limited by, oh, I got to go get licensed in this state. No, we got to open up an office over here. And oh, we got to get more E&O insurance. And oh, we got to do this and do this and do this. Which, I mean, that would have taken forever.
At least a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, not everyone has that drive, right?
Right.
The impact they want to make, like you, right? Usually real estate agents that I have came across, real estate agents that I coach, I had a very limited number, majority of them are just looking to make a paycheck, right?
Mhm.
And especially when they probably do it consistently, struggle through it 2-3 years. Usually real estate agents get a hang of it and get to maybe a decent amount of sales. I don't know, today's time, maybe 10 million in sales.
Right.
10 million in sales volume gets a decent amount of living. And someone with their own ability, just use you as an example, prospecting king, right? You have your own ability, just pick up a phone and get listings, 30 a month and all this stuff, and being able to be in control of your business. Why would I lose control?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I think most people get into real estate and become an agent without really knowing what it entails. I think people see the glitz and the glamour of it. They see the excitement of it. They see, big checks and nice cars and all this stuff. And then once they get into it, they don't realize all the hard work and the grind, that it takes to create success within real estate. And I think that's why it's so important to, like what you're talking about, you coach agents, to find a coach, that can coach you to teach you the right way to do things. I'm all about, like, if I'm going to start something, if I'm going to go into something, I'm going to look for someone who has more experience than me and go learn from or partner with them. Right. And I've done that. I've done that with real estate. I've done that with real estate investing. You and I are working on a couple of things. It's like, I look for people who are already successful, in an area and look to learn from them, partner with them, and create something a lot faster, right, than it would the learning curve. And I think when agents get into real estate, it's so important to start the right way, because if you don't learn the right way, you're going to be out of the business pretty quick. I mean, I think 90% of real estate agents are out of the business in their first 24 months. And that's ridiculous.
That's a crazy stat. And recently, I actually shared the stat with someone, and they got offended. They thought I'm trying to discourage them. I'm like, I'm not trying to discourage you. I just want you to sell sell wide and keep going. With all these real estate agents coming into the industry, right, and a lot of changes happening in the market, in the real estate industry itself. Tell us, where do you see the industry going? How is this whole thing, this whole boom, right? Looks like that 2005 again, right? Deja vu for you. Like, how do you think all this is going to play out in the next 5 years?
That's a great question. I think things are definitely changing. I think things are going to change. And I think there's definitely going to be some corrections. And I think it's more than just the real estate bubble. It's inflation. It's what's going on in the world. It's cryptocurrency, it's technology, it's the blockchain. Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff that changes, I believe, in the next 5 years. And I think that one of the other reasons why I think it's important to be, with a company like EXP is because you don't have to be the guy forward thinking of, what do I need to do to change make changes to be relevant in the industry, right? They've got guys at the top of, and that's just not just EXP, but Keller Williams, like the big companies, right? The ones that have millions and billions of dollars, the ones that are debt free, the ones that have been around for a while, the ones that have gone through the different storms of the industry, the ups and downs. And what's great about being partnered with or aligned with in a big company like an EXP is, they've got some of the best at the forefront. And I have to guarantee that the question that you just asked me, are questions they've been asking themselves and working on for, for a while to be ahead of things when they do change. And so I think there definitely needs to be a correction. You go into any room, any room of agents in today's industry, and you say, how many of you guys have been, only been in the business the last 10 years? The majority of agents are going to raise their hands. And that's kind of scary, because that means the majority of agents that are in the business right now have only known a great market, right? They haven't gone through a 2005, 2008. They haven't gone through the ups and downs. And so I think there's going to be a big awakening, and there's going to be a big, how do I want to say it? There's going to be like a big aha, for a lot of people, or a big eye-opening thing that's going to happen for a lot of people. And again, if they're not aligned with the right company or the right team or the right people, we're going to lose a lot of agents.
So you guys heard it. Justin has been there on the up and down. Follow Justin on somewhere, on Instagram, on Facebook.
Yep.
So when this all goes down, you know what to do. Just listen to Justin.
Yeah. I can't say I have all the answers, but I mean, I came into the business in the downturn. I was in the mortgage business when it crashed. I was, I helped people through the short sales, the loan modifications, audited mortgages during all that robo signing stuff. And so I've had my hands in the majority of the market, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. So follow Justin, who's following the right person, the right company, and align with the right company. So where do you mentioned technology. Where do you see, technology, digital marketing, now with crypto, blockchain, NFT, metaverse, like let's just drop everything in that bucket, right? It's drastically moving, right? And real estate industry and the people in it, the brokers, majority of them are small businesses, right?
Yeah.
Not all of the real estate industry is big franchise brokerages who probably has figured out, the technology part, but majority of the real estate industry itself is behind on technology. So with this boom on technology, how do you see that, affecting the market, the industry, and how can someone leverage technology, and what are you doing with technology to be like, let's just say Zillow, right? If it comes to real estate technology.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple things here. And again, these are just my own opinions. I think technology is definitely going to play a part, but I think even with what we just saw with Zillow and Open Door, they've lost so much money because they were trying to, go after agents and create this iBuyer market, which I think the iBuyer market, the iBuyer platform is not going to go away. I just think, I remember when Zillow was, when they bought Dotloop, and then they bought Showing Time, and then they were creating their iBuyer program. Like, there were so many agents that were scared, like, the industry's going to be done. We're going to be out of the business. Zillow's taken over. Well, that's a scarcity mindset. Like, I never thought that ever. And here's what I know. I believe that the younger generation, the people who are really, because I'm considered a millennial and I'm 39, but the younger
millennial.
Yeah. I was one of the first
trained by the boomers.
Yeah. But I think that the next generation, right? The ones that are teenagers right now, maybe early 20s, I think are going to be the ones to truly, like, I don't think technology is going to take over in the next 5 years, because you still got a lot of people who, baby boomers, you got people our age, people that are even in their mid 30s that are used to doing things a certain way. But I think there's going to come a time when the next generation really rises up. And I think things are going to change with that generation of how technology, runs the business. I also do think that real estate is different, right? Because so many people are like, well, look what Uber did to taxis, and look what Airbnb did to hotels, and look what Expedia and all these travel sites did to travel agents.
What EXP did, all the traditional brokers. Right. He's got the traditional broker.
Yeah. But here's what I think. I don't think, at least for a while, technology is going to replace agents. I mean, it will for some, but most people like relationships, right? Most people want that trusted advisor. Yeah, there'll be some
until people start liking relationships with AIs.
Well, and that's what I mean. And I know that you're really excited about that and working on that. It'll be interesting. I can't really predict it.
10 years is going to be a big shift.
Yeah. I think 10 years too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
With people have to get used to it. Technology could come out. AI, we are at the verge of AI. Probably 1 to 2 years, it'll be used by most corporations right now. Facebook is probably already using it for their algorithm. But
Yeah.
their ad
Mhm.
algorithm could be like a big AI, right?
Yep.
Codes in the back. But anyway, your advice. Let's we are running out of time here, so let's give people some value here. Your advice to someone who are getting a lot of people getting into the business, right? What would you advise them to set? How can they set themselves up, right? Maybe not see success like you, right, at the level, but
Right.
what drives that momentum? How can they get into that momentum to get to where you got to? And let's just say once they get there, how should they set themselves up to find freedom through real estate?
So I know that my story and my situation is not the norm. Most people do not come into real estate and sell 100 homes their first year. So I totally understand that. However, I've got two guys that just this past week, took the real estate class, and they're going to be joining my team. And so what I always say is, if you're looking to get into real estate or you're brand new in real estate, you need to join a team, and you need to find someone who's going to show you the way, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So just the team doesn't count. There has to be someone that will show you the way.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you join a team and that team leader, that team doesn't really show you how to be successful, then it's a waste of time. But like for me, like I would not be where I am in real estate today if it wasn't for that 3 years working with Jeff Glover. There's no way in the world that I would be where I am. That 3 years allowed me to lay a strong foundation, learn the skills necessary to be successful. And
It's like, whoa.
yeah, period. And so I would say to anybody that's looking to either get into real estate or has recently got into real estate, you need to find somebody that can mentor you and teach you how to be successful in real estate. It's difficult when you first start off. And I know that there's a lot of people who, just want to get in this thing and figure it out on their own. It doesn't really happen that way. I mean, it's a process. And, being a real estate coach, I always teach agents, like, you need to follow a process. And to try to go out and figure it out on your own, it's the same reason why, when I was getting, wanting to get into flipping homes, was to get into flipping homes with somebody who already had the experience. Even if it meant, hey, we're going to do this 50-50. I'm going to bring the deal to the table. You're going to fund it, and you got the construction crews. I don't have time to go out and find construction crews. Like, I don't want to do all that. I would rather learn from somebody who already is ahead of me. No different than real estate. If you want to be, successful in real estate, find someone that you can look up to that's successful in real estate and spend some time with them. Doesn't mean you got to stay with them forever, but at least commit to, a period of time learning from that person or that team so that you can, set yourself off on the right foot and build a strong foundation.
And once you get there, I know in the process of getting there, a lot of people just lose the whole freedom thing, right? They just get tangled up in the business. And, how did you find the balance? And what should, a decent producing agent, how should they look at their production and their long-term equity? How do they build that? So in the future, when they stop selling, they don't have to be worried about paycheck,
Yeah, that's a great question, by the way. And there's a couple of different ways to answer that. Number one is, from a balance standpoint, one of the things that I did early on, and I'm thankful to Jeff Glover for this, is he taught me leverage, right? If I'm going to sell 100 homes a year, I can't sell 100 homes a year, being the salesperson, being the admin, being the photographer, being the one showing homes, being the marketer. And so you have to get to a point where you need to create leverage. You need to have an assistant. I don't do my own paperwork, right? You need to have a showing assistant. I don't show my own homes. I have a showing assistant who does that. You have to create leverage around your business to give you the flexibility and the freedom to have time, right? I have 4 kids. I go to my kids' games. We can go on vacation. We can do all these other things. It's because I've built leverage around my business. The other thing is, you want to be able to invest and create multiple streams of income. The one thing I love about EXP, I saw someone the other day post on Facebook, hey, is there any real estate agents out there that have a retirement plan? And I kind of laughed about it because, Saeed when was the last time you got invited to a real estate agent retirement party? There is none, right? Because if you're just selling real estate, you're in trouble. Like I was meeting with the seller today, and I had worked with them in the past. And they were telling me about this real estate agent that they know that's 75 years old. That's still showing homes, And he's been in the business 50 years. Well, to me, that's a problem. I don't want to be 75 years old showing homes. I don't even want to be 55 years old showing homes. And you have to look for ways that you can create multiple streams of income. And what I love about EXP is they have a retirement plan where you can, build stock within the company, and you can, earn stock, but you can also purchase it at a reduced price. And then also build a team and, build rev share. And so that's one of the things that I have done since I've been with EXP now for a little over a year. And my stock portfolio will go over $100,000 this year. And that's only, after being there, just a little over a year. By the end of this year, it'll be 2 years.
$100,000?
It'll be this year. Yep.
I should have joined 3 years ago. I'm just
Hey, you and me both.
So you guys heard it. Justin is looking for people, looking to impact others' lives with his experience, with the training and coaching that you're providing with your team, to give them the success you have seen, to give them the freedom and $100,000 in stocks in the company. And so, you know where to find Justin. He's on social media. He's on Facebook. You're on Instagram too, right? Yeah.
Yep, Facebook and Instagram. Also got a podcast now.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, definitely. I forgot to mention that. And the book, for sure. I'm definitely getting the book when it comes on Audible. And I'll be honest, like, that's how I do it. I just run and listen.
Yeah, no, and that's everybody has a different, way of learning. And again, it's there's a lot of different ways. There's no reason why no person in our society shouldn't be successful and pursue their dreams. We have all the technology and everything that we need to be successful. It just comes down to how bad do we really want it.
Love that, bro. Thanks for joining in, bro. I really appreciate your time. And, I want to continue this relationship, collaborate with you. We're excited about the projects that we are working together. Yeah. And definitely would love to have you again on my podcast.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll be back anytime. Just send the invite.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, bro. Definitely. And good luck with everything, man. 100,000 already? I'm coming.
No, it's not yet. This year it will be.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you,
bro. You too. Bye.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining in and listening in with Justin and I with the Real Estate Sales Machine. I just wanted to bring him on, kind of share the success stories out there in real estate industry and how people are shifting their businesses and to continue to grow and create financial freedom for themselves, for their families and people that they want to impact their lives with, right? So thanks again for joining in. I do have applications for our Real Estate Sales Machine Academy that just dropped this week. So if you are looking to automate your real estate lead generation and conversion, our offer for Real Estate Sales Academy will allow you to automate your real estate lead generation, database building, converting the leads into clients on automation 24/7, with all the digital assets. And it's a 11-week program, which will allow you advanced Facebook ads and messenger bot marketing and automation of follow-up on your database. So I'll drop the application in the comments. If you are interested, you can fill out an application and see if this program is fit for your business and if you can utilize this business to scale